everybody. Welcome to the Right or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. Hello, everyone. Today with us, I have to point this way. I always want to point the wrong way, but you have to go the opposite way. So today with us, we have Tricia Copeland. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Randi.
So tell us a little bit about who Tricia is.
Right. So I started writing in 2008. I about 38 years old, so I think it was almost midlife crisis. A little bit of cathartic going on there, but I had an experience with anorexia when I was a young adult, 18, 19, 20, I guess 18, 19. And, coming up on that 20-year anniversary, I think I just needed to maybe understand it more myself, as well as kind of heal from it some more. I think the more time you have away from something like that, the more you understand it, the more you understand yourself. So, I just started writing about my experience, but I wrote it in a fictional capacity. So it was a little bit offset from me. I wrote about a fictional character who goes to college and loses her way, basically, which was sort of my story. I just became depressed and didn't know how to deal with that and didn't know how to handle a lot of the issues that were going on with me, and decided that I could be thin and that would solve all my problems. So of course,
what an easy solution.
Right? When does it not work? But became very addicted to that mindset and could not get out of it. And within 6 months, I was in the hospital, almost ready to pass into another life. I will say it that way. So not a good situation. But I was really thankful for that experience too, because it did allow me to connect with other people and decide that, and realize for maybe the first time in my life that it was okay to have flaws, have problems. It was okay to talk about them. And it was okay. And that's how you connected with people. You don't connect with people about, oh, your hair is pretty. Okay. Yes, a lot of people may connect over hair.
Right. And that's a very superficial level. Like, hey, I'm at the grocery store. Hey, you've got nice hair. And then you never see the person again.
Right. I like your hair. I like your tattoos. And that's very sweet. It brightens our day and it helps us feel connected in one level, but there are many levels of connection that I was missing in my life, and realizing that I was holding myself apart from people because I just couldn't accept what was going on with me and what my story was, right? So I'm really grateful for that, and was really grateful for my recovery. So my first book series that I wrote was a 4-book series about a girl in college. I think I already mentioned that, but her freshman through her senior year. So it follows her journey of kind of falling apart, basically, and how she picked herself back up and put herself back together, and was eventually successful and happy.
Oh, I like that, because you are successful and happy now. Okay, so let's take it on back then. Way back to, you were saying, in college, right? So was there anything in particular going on? I mean, with depression and mental illness, there doesn't have to be anything in particular, but was there something?
Yeah, my whole family situation was really stressful. My dad suffered from diabetes, and he really had a hard time with that. So I think I was always scared for his life and scared for him. And he suffered from a lot of depression. And I don't know if it was related to that, but, and my sister had some challenges, and there were some things that happened related to his diabetes that I don't think I even realized was a trauma for me, but it was a trauma for me. And then I had a triggering, looking back, and I can look at it and say, oh, that was a triggering incident that snowballed me into, the depression and feeling alone and scared, and why can't I relate to people? And I couldn't tell you can't tell people. And so yeah, it was, and then I kind of started drinking a little bit, but I was like that good girl that wasn't going to drink or do drugs or,
Yeah.
so my crutch was going to be that I was going to, get skinny and work out all the time.
Problem
And I
solved. We're
laugh
good.
about that, but it, I mean, I hadn't gained very much weight. I mean, a lot of people gain weight in college, but I hadn't gained that much weight. But, I really had a disproportionate view of how I looked. But really it was masking the fact that I was sad, alone, depressed, feeling out of control with my life. And I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the tools to, ask for help or say anything to anyone, I think.
Yeah.
It's sort of my family system there. So.
Yeah. So, well, that's a whole lot to unpack. So, a couple things that you said there that I just want to restate because they're so important. When you were saying that, well, you couldn't talk to anybody, that is one of the biggest, I don't want to call it a myth because everyone's situation is different, right? But that is one of the biggest obstacles. Yes, obstacles. That's a better word for people to get the help that they need because they either feel like they have no one to talk to or they really don't because maybe they don't have those kind of services available to them and they don't have the proper family or friends to go and talk to. So who do you talk to, right? When that isn't available? Ideally, in a perfect world, there would be services available even if you didn't have friends or family, but that's a perfect world, which we do not live in. So that's one of the biggest obstacles. And from that, you were saying, okay, I'll just get skinny. And when you said that, I was like, oh, yep. So I'm the opposite. When I get super depressed and overwhelmed and all the things, right? Because it doesn't have to be a one thing. It doesn't have to be anything when it comes to mental illness. I said that. But when you have all of these other things, you're saying, your dad and then your sister and then this and that, and you're in college and there's all these things. And it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? I'm the opposite though. I binge eat. So I do gain weight. And it's the control. When you feel like you've lost control, how do you get it back? Oh, I can control what I eat.
Well, yeah, all eating disorders, I think, are really based on the same thing, whether it's bulimia, binge eating, overeating, starving. It's all based on, okay, I can't control what someone else is doing outside me. I can't control my environment. I can't control my world, but I can control this one thing about my life. And yeah, it was definitely about control for me because I definitely felt very out of control. And and looking back, I see, and after I was able and introduced to all the services that were available to me, I was, wow, I had all those right there. But at the time, I didn't want to reach out. So.
Yeah. And you don't even, sometimes you don't know that they're there, what they are capable of doing or that kind of thing, right? Because like when I was in college and depressed, because I didn't know what it was until much later. But we apparently had counseling services there. That was apparently a thing. And I say it that way because I didn't know. I think they're doing, because the college that I graduated from, my kid is now going there. I think they're doing a better job now of informing people that there is counseling available as part of just your tuition. It's just there, it's free, whatever. But 15 years ago, ew, that's gross. They weren't telling us. It's like it was a big secret. I don't know if they were intentionally not because they didn't have enough staff, or it was just an oversight because they just figured, oh, if you need it, you'll find it.
Right. Yeah. Or if you look fine, I'm sure you're fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, that's a giant myth. That's not an obstacle. That is a giant myth. You can look fine and you are so not fine.
And probably for me, the better I look, the worse I am. That's like,
yeah, actually, I had never thought about it that way. But yeah, when we're talking eating disorders, especially anorexia, in the eyes of, what is pretty and skinny is pretty. Yeah, you're right.
But I did it. I mean, the first 5 pounds, I got a lot more attention.
Yeah.
You look great. You're doing great. Oh,
Yep.
It worked for a very short while.
Yeah. Because then it's like, oh, now so my mom, she doesn't have an eating disorder. She's got celiac and she waited too long to believe me that that's what it was going to end up being. And so she finally went and got the tests, whatever. But she waited so long that she had withered away to nothing. Like, she looks like she would be anorexic if you didn't know that she had a different disease, because she is literally a skeleton, right? And that, like you said, at when she first lost that first 5-10 pounds, we're all like, oh wow, mom, or Margaret, as everybody else called her, hey, wow, you're looking good, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden it's, wait a minute, now you've just lost another 5 pounds and now something is wrong. Now we're like questioning it.
Right. Yeah, and to my parents' credit, they did try to get me help. They did put me in counseling. By the time, like, if your parents send you to counseling and you have issues with your parents, then that doesn't really work. Like, I was just mad and didn't want to be there and wasn't going to open up to this person that my parent was sending me to.
Right? So, they're just trying to help, but it's like, okay, yes, but
yeah,
still my issues with you. So, so as you went on, how long did it go from when you kind of started trying to control all your food intake, to when you went and got the first round of help?
Yeah, so it was about 6 months, because I started exercising in March, and then by the end of September, I weighed 72 pounds and my heart almost stopped.
Oh, moly. Yeah. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'4", so, you know, I
lost. You're my height. Oh my gosh, I could not imagine being that.
Yeah, I lost 35 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was scary. And the scariest part for me, and what people don't realize, is that when you get in that spot, I wanted to be better. At some point, I wanted to be better. I didn't want to do this anymore. I realized I was hurting myself. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to be able to go to class and remember what they told me. I wanted to make a good grade on my test. I wanted to, like, have friends and be normal again. I couldn't make myself. That's the disease part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, my brain had such rewired itself to train itself that I could not eat, that eating was scary, and that if I ate, then my whole world was going to crumble around me. Mm-hmm. And nobody could convince me. Nobody could help me. I had dozens of friends saying, you know, what can I do? How can I help? And I was like, oh no, I just got the flu. I'm going to be fine. Lying the whole time. You know, I knew totally what I was doing. Just like a cocaine addict or a drug addict or an alcoholic. I mean, it was the same addictive cycle that I couldn't get myself out of. So, you know, it was very scary when my heart, like, started racing, and then it was like I was counting like 20 beats a minute, and I said, oh, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And the doctor in the ER was like, yeah, we can't do anything for you. And I thought she was pretty mean. I'll say a nice word at the time, but it was the truth. Like, I mean, they could do something for me, obviously, but I really had to do it for myself. I had to decide to get better.
Yeah. So, coming out of the hospital, what was the next step for you?
Right. So I went in an inpatient program. I was able to be in that program for 5 days, which got me, like, physically stable and a little bit more mentally stable, so that
like I was a little kickstart.
Right. To make some more rational decisions and decide, you know, okay, what is the best plan forward for me? I unenrolled from school and then just decided today it's like a halfway program, sort of. So it was like a 30-day, all-day recovery program, basically, for people with eating disorders and addictions. And I did that, and I lived in a community or apartment with other people with eating disorders that were also recovering. So we kind of had our little support system and our buddy system, and we're supporting each other. And food is such a harder thing than not drinking or not doing drugs. You still have to eat. But for me, I needed to eat a good amount to keep me healthy, and some other people were in other situations where they needed to also eat, you know, healthy amounts, whichever way they were leaning. So it was a really good system for me, and I was able to, you know, get physically better as well as emotionally and mentally better, and get therapy and talk about the trauma and the issues and talk through those and feel like I had a better handle on some control in my life. So then I was able to get a job and re-enter school. And, it took years, though. It took years to retrain my brain that it was okay to eat healthy and it was okay to talk about my feelings and trust people that were going to, you always have to make sure you have people that you can trust. You're trusting the right people, right? You're talking to the right people. But organizations like Overeaters Anonymous was really good for me. If people aren't familiar with it, it's just like Alcoholics Anonymous.
So
eating disorders.
For something like that, because the title there, Overeaters Anonymous, and you were very clearly not eating, not overeating. How is that helpful for somebody in your situation?
Well, it was really hard for me to go in because there are fewer anorexics and bulimics in that program. At least there were when I was going on a regular basis. So it was hard to feel like, okay, this person is the same as me. But like you said, if you're overeating or binging, it's a way to control your environment. And as soon as I realized we had the same disease, I had the same disease as everybody sitting in the room, whether it was overeating or undereating or binging, purging, whatever those behaviors were, they were about controlling. And the path to recovery was not doing the behaviors. So if we were supporting each other and not doing whatever behavior it was that was unhealthy to us and keeping us from really seeing what was really, or really thinking about what was really going on, or masking our feelings around whatever we were masking our feelings, and then you could connect to that person on the level you needed to connect to have healing and recovery.
Yeah, because it's such a I would say it's probably such a hard thing if somebody is in a situation where the title of the program, Overeaters Anonymous, you're like, but that's not my problem. So how can I go there? Right. And it's like, oh, where do I go? So it's really important that people hear that message that it is still the same type of disease and you can still go to these meetings and get the support that you need, even if the title doesn't match what it is that you think that you're dealing with.
Right. And I went to tons of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. I mean, I had a goal of going to a meeting every day for like 180 days because I just needed that support. I needed somebody to tell me that, I was going to be okay. And that no matter how low I had gone or, and I thought I had a lot of guilt too, because I did this to myself. Like I decided that I was going to lose weight and that I was going to, exercise more and be skinny. But then my brain turned it around on myself. Right. So I needed to go to that a meeting every day and have people that had been where I was, even if it wasn't around eating, if it was around alcohol or drugs, tell me that things were going to get better. So I would go to any anonymous meeting that I could go to.
And that's you're the first person to ever say that, they would go to whatever was available because, it all has the same basis. It all is there to support each other, to let you know it's going to be okay. Everybody's different, but it's so important that everyone hears there are groups out there and, you don't have to have a super specific thing to match that group. You can get support anyways.
Right. And everybody's going to accept you. They're not going to say, oh, no.
There's the door, bye.
Right. Yeah. They're going to say, hey, do you need help? Come in.
Yeah, that's good. So did you hit your 180 days of meetings? Did you?
Yes. I mean, I think I did way more than that. I probably did a meeting a day for a year. I got a sponsor and I met a wonderful lady in Alcoholics Anonymous and she became my sponsor. I met a wonderful lady in Overeaters Anonymous. So I had two sponsors, two people I was calling every day. I worked with a registered dietitian. I worked with a therapist. There was a lot of therapy. But, that's what I needed. That's where I was. I was reaching out. That the one day when I landed in the emergency room, I said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I guess when you're in that place, you're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes not to die from this. This is not what I want to die from.
Yes, exactly. So that was going to be my next question. What else did you do? So when you're in therapy, was there any specific coping strategy or piece of wisdom that your therapist gave you that was like an aha moment?
I don't know if it was one specific thing. And like I said, more than anything, like I had been taught that you don't really share your problems with people and you don't talk about that, and you just keep it inside and you just keep going. and that was not working for me, obviously. Those tools were not working. So it was just like being able to even look in the mirror and say, okay, this happened to me, and it's okay. It's going to be okay. And I'm not a horrible person because of X, Y, Z. And I could look at other people and say, oh, you're not a horrible person because of X, Y, Z. But I was holding all these things inside.
That is
not thinking that I was going to be accepted if I told you whatever was going on. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was just feeling like I could say that I was having a bad day, or I could say that I was sad, or I could say that I was X, Y, Z, and people are going to be like, oh, cool, yeah, that happened to me too, or,
right?
So, yeah.
I cannot stop yawning right now, and it has nothing to do with you.
Not offended.
Oh my gosh. So I thought, and then it left. Oh, that is one of the truest statements ever, is that we can always look at somebody else and be like, oh, girl, it's fine. You're doing good. Everybody has bad days. It's all good. And then you look at yourself and you go, oh, no, you are no. We're our own worst critics. And that is so hard, because sometimes you have to go, would I say this to my friend? You're like, no, I would never. And it's like, okay, but I'm saying it to myself. So I don't like myself. And obviously that's the case when we're doing that. But yeah, you have to stop yourself. Would I say this to my friend? And if the answer is no, well, then don't say it to yourself. So how long did it take you to go from that moment when you're in the hospital going, I'm doing whatever it takes, to feel like you're in a good place?
A long time. It took me probably a year or two before my reaction to stress or big emotions or hard situations was, okay, I'm going to skip this meal. I really don't need this snack today, or I really don't need to eat lunch today. Because that, if I just would skip this one meal, it'll be okay. I don't have to do, I'll be fine tomorrow, which wasn't the case. If I skip, that's still today. I still do that because I still consider myself to be someone who has addictive tendencies. So if I let myself skip one meal, obviously there are times, but you're on an airplane or whatever, it's going to happen.
Yeah, but out of your control time.
Right. It was more important in the very beginning, for the first probably 2 years, for me to be like, no, this is what I eat. I wrote down what I was going to eat. I'll eat it, and then I'll tell my sponsor at the end, and I'm going to do that no matter what, because that was my addiction. Like, I just couldn't. It's like you're an alcoholic. You're not going to take a drink. You have an eating disorder. You need to eat 3 meals a day or whatever is healthy for you, right? Yeah. So it was a good 2 years before that knee-jerk reaction wasn't overwhelming me. And I used those people. I would call my sponsor and say, hey, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to eat whatever is on my plate, or, I'm scared to eat that Big Mac because I'm going to weigh 300 pounds tomorrow. So just retraining my brain and retraining my thinking, and really looking at those triggers for examining what's behind them. Like, what am I scared of? What am I not facing? What am I really feeling here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I love that you're able to let us know, 2 years, because that's not a short amount of time. Like, that is a long time just to get to a place, and then it continues, right? It's not like 2 years, okay, I'm done, I'm good, I'm fixed. It's still every day, but that first initial time to get you to a place where, like you said, it's not overwhelming, 2 years. You got to put in a lot of work, but I'm assuming, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it was like that all the 2 years. I think it was, a progressive thing, but
sure.
But yeah, it was definitely a lot of therapy, a lot of, meeting people, getting support, and being a support for other people too. I mean, everybody's on a journey, and I can help the person who's day one, right? Even if you have 30 days, that you've been doing this.
Yeah, you're further ahead than the person doing the first day.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And so how are we doing now?
I'm sorry?
How are you doing now?
I'm great. Yeah, I am much older now. I have 3 kids who are in college. Healthy lifestyle. I love running. I love hiking. And the food is not an issue for me anymore. I do like being thin still, and maybe that will always be part of who I am. But I don't actively engage. I have healthy friendships and have healthy relationships, and I recognize when I'm feeling down or something feels icky and I need to talk about it. And so yeah, it's just I'm grateful. I wouldn't wish that experience on anyone else. I would hope that people get those coping skills and mental health lessons as they grow up, but some people just don't. You don't, and your brain rewires itself for survival. And I did what I had to do when it was time, but I'm grateful that I was put in an experience where I had to learn those skills and learn healthy ways of thinking.
Yeah. Awesome. So I always like to ask for a piece of wisdom. So for your question, what is your piece of wisdom for somebody who is on day one?
Day one. Put one foot in front of the other. Listen to what, the experts, the medical professionals, psychiatric professionals are telling you what to do. And even if it feels hard, scary, just do the next right thing. Keep yourself healthy, safe, and put yourself in a healthy place, and surround yourself with people you can trust. And just put one foot in front of the other. And it's just one day at a time, one moment at a time, until, a lot of times you're so physically unstable that your brain can't even think right. So if you get in a healthy, safe place, then you're able to work on, okay, what is really going on with me?
Yeah. That is excellent advice, or wisdom. I don't like to call it advice, wisdom. So now, I mean, you've already shared a little bit about what you've written. So we've got that. You said it was a 4-book series. Am I
Right. The
remembering
Being
right?
Me series is the 4-book series. But
Yeah.
Amanda is the fictional character, and she's a college freshman when the story starts. There's a romance element to the story too, so it's not all like sadness and depression. I glammed it up a little bit, her story. So she has definitely struggles, definitely psychotic breaks in there. But what I really wanted to tell people is there is hope, there is help. It's not a magic fix, but there's a life beyond recovery, and this doesn't have to define you. I think that was one of my biggest fears, or one of my biggest things that I was mad at myself about, maybe. Because I kind of felt like it was my fault that I was in that place. Obviously it was and it wasn't. Mental illness is mental illness. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is going to define me forever. And it doesn't. It doesn't define you forever. You pick yourself up and you get yourself healthy, and you let other people help you. That was one big thing for me. I didn't think I should let people help me. Like I should be able to do it all by myself. That was not the case. That was not going to happen at all.
No.
So yeah, so that I really wrote the book to eating disorders are such a strange thing for people who don't have those tendencies. I kind of want to explain that rationale and that thought process too. Kind of demystify that a little bit, just so that destigmify a little bit as well.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, I've had over 200 episodes, and less than 20 of them, I would say off the top of my head, have been about eating disorders. Like maybe even closer to 10. Like there's not a lot of people that are talking about it right now.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I think it's like 20 to 25% of the population struggles with eating disorders. So it's not few of us. I mean, and there are so many organizations: National Eating Disorders Association, And I think that's a worldwide organization.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things out there, but until people are willing to talk about it, and it's a scary thing.
It is.
You know, people are going to stay scared and they're going to keep to themselves and maybe not get the help that they need. So I'm so glad that you're like, nope, I'm going to talk about it because I'm in a good place now. Been there, done that. Don't want to do it again. And so what else are you working on?
Yeah, I didn't realize I loved writing as much as I did when I wrote my series. So I have a science background and I had done technical writing for a long time. And when I was writing this book, I was staying home with my kids. So I wrote after they went to sleep. It was sort of like my entertainment for the night. I was entertaining myself by writing these books. I'm not sure I really thought that I was going to publish them, but I had a friend who's an editor, and my sister was like, "This is a really good story. You need to publish it." So I published that, and then I just loved writing. And my love in reading is fantasy and vampires and witches. So I very quickly jumped to the fantasy side and have two YA series, a witch series as well as a fantasy series. And then
what are they called?
Okay, so the witch series is Kingdom Journals. So it's about a trinity of witches who have to come together to break a curse on the witch lines. And it's really funny because I wanted to write a vampire series, and the first character is a witch-vampire hybrid.
Okay.
And then it totally went off the witches and magic. But we do have some vampires in there. But that story kind of started off more about, it's a young adult series, so it's about fitting in as a person who may fit in two different groups and not really sure where you really belong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it started out with those vibes too, but I think fantasy is sometimes a really good way to explore some of those issues. So then I never thought I would write about a fairy, but she came in there somewhere.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know where your book is gonna go until you start doing it, and you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, so that's the Realm Chronicles series, is the Fae Fantasy series. I also have a dystopian series, which is Lovelock. And that was published in 2019 about a worldwide pandemic. So obviously in 2020, it did not go very far.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Those were great before we had the pandemic. Not so much anymore.
Right? Now it's like, oh, that time in our life.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love writing. I have fun writing. And
yeah. Well, what are you working on now? Do you have something else coming up?
I do. So the Fae Fantasy series, I just published the 4th book in the series. When did I publish it? Oh, in August. So To Be a Fae Rogue is my most recent release. And then, so I decided I usually write romance and then stagger it with my fantasy because my brain gets overwhelmed with fantasy.
Yes.
So my romance series are now much lighter than my Being Me series. They're about a group of friends in Kentucky who are college friends, and we kind of see the romances of each one of those friends in the Perfect Romance series. But so that's a little bit lighter, and then I dive into my fantasy where they're evil witches and warlocks and people are trying to kill my characters left and right.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I feel like people who write all in one genre, I'm like, isn't that overwhelming? Like, I don't know. For me, I'm the same as you. I got to mix it up a little bit because just writing in the one is very overwhelming.
Yeah, I get very attached to my characters, and that's probably why I kind of did Realm Chronicles as a crossover to the Kingdom Journals, because I just couldn't let the characters go. But yeah, so the 4th book in the Realm Chronicles series just released, but I realized the 5th book was going to be the finale. So instead of jumping back to romance, I said, okay, I just have to finish this. I'm going to finish the 5th book of the series while I'm on this roll, thinking about these characters. And so, yeah, I'm almost finished with that. I'm supposed to hand it into my editor in a week and a half. So if you're listening, I'm going to be staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh dear. And where do people get these books?
most of my books are they're all on Amazon, Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and the Kingdom Journals as well as the Realm Chronicles series is also an audiobook. So I have some great narrators, Jillian Yetter and Amy, I'm going to mess her last name, Duchler, and Dan Delgado did my male voice books. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love audiobooks. And where do people follow you?
They follow me. TriciaCopeland.com is my website. If you go there, you can get 2 free short stories, whether you like romance or fantasy. You can get a little intro to my books, and they're all listed on the website as well as either Facebook, Instagram, sometimes on TikTok. I need to be better, but I post some videos, and it's either author Tricia Copeland or Tricia Copeland author on all of those.
Awesome. Do you have any last thoughts before we say goodbye?
So my catchphrase, it really took me a while to figure out like what I was doing with my books, because when you write romance, when you write dystopian, when you write fantasy, it's like, what is your goal here? But really my kind of catchphrase is finding the magic, like not only finding magic in books, but mostly finding magic in yourself. And like all my characters, I feel like they're trying to find what it is about themselves that's special and how they want to share that with the world. And so finding the magic is sort of my like little theme.
Oh, I love that. It works on so many levels.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show and spending this time with us and sharing. And hopefully everybody picks up all of those books, because you got choices now. You've got so many choices. If you don't like one genre, you could take the other genre. It's fine.
Jump around. Thank you so much, Randy. It was so great talking to you.
Thanks. As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media, because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.